All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world all of you are going to be when you log into this season of Leaders and Libraries season 4. Welcome back. You have listened to many global guests who have come on this platform and spoken about books and how books have played a very significant role in their own growth journey. We have yet another guest for the day, Ranjana Balian. We have been talking for a couple of weeks, in fact, a couple of months. I couldn't get her, she couldn't get me. We were having a Tom and Jerry show between both of us. But yes, finally, we are here to talk about a very powerful book which has inspired both of us. And I think many of you must have picked up the book. If not, you should definitely pick it up after this conversation. A great, inspiring book of a great leader on the global platform. Ranjana is a senior leadership facilitator, coach, come anything that you can talk about under the umbrella of learning and organization development. She has worked with multiple organizations in her roles, has also worked across global consulting platform, and I can completely acknowledge that because I'm somebody who's had my own stint with global consulting space, corporate space, and now I run a organization of my own. So I know how somebody like her who has seen both the sides of the learning and development coin would understand business and people development in that space. It's a pleasure to have you. She is an avid book reader, and I'm so glad that she picked up this book, which has not been picked up by anybody across the three seasons. So thank you so much, Ranjana, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. It's such a pleasure to be here finally. And yes, about the book, I am a big fan of the lady that we're going to be talking about today. So it's a pleasure.
Superb. I'm rubbing my hands to create some energy and heat here. So before we get into the conversation and the book, I'm going to start with my favorite question that I ask all the guests. And the reason why I ask this question is it's very inspiring for listeners when they see the story and listen to the story of the guest. So tell me, Ranjana, how books happened to you? How early was it? And how did your love and passion for books grow over the years? Take us to that.
Lovely. I think I started reading early in childhood.
Hmm.
Maybe I was actually, my son is only 5 now. He already reads and he's into reading since he was like 1.5. Of course, it's picture reading, and then with some help, he's able to read. But for me, it was a little later than that. I think I would have started reading at about 6, 7 when I was about 6 or 7 years of age. It of course started with simple comics that my dad used to get, and those days we used to get those in the book stalls on the railway station. So when we used to travel by train, which we did quite a lot,
Yeah.
just to ensure that we pass time in the train, is how we picked up that habit of reading those comics, Tinkle and stuff like that. And then, of course, I graduated to Enid Blyton fairly quickly. I fell in love with Enid Blyton books. I used to read Mallory Towers, I used to read St. Clair's, and these are just some names I'm throwing because these are the ones that I used to read as
Yeah.
a child. And you know what happened with fiction, or with specifically with these books, is I could relate to the characters in the book. In many ways, it spoke to me about my own personality, or about aspects of my personality that I didn't know, but I
Right.
could connect with. So
Mm,
then I started exploring myself in different ways, different than what I had known myself as. So my journey of self exploration started with this journey of reading, and which is why my love for books and reading began to grow. And I felt this thirst to explore different genres,
mm.
and because I felt that I was discovering myself through these books
Oh, lovely.
in a very powerful way. Yes,
Fantastic.
so
How did the
that's how it
transition
started.
happen to leadership book and the big management books? How did that happen?
So yeah, that also, I think, for the first maybe a decade or so, until I was in student life, I was immersed in fiction. Sidney Sheldon and Jeffrey Dahmer and Daniel Steele, and these are some of my favorites.
Oh
They would just
yes.
be just completely engaged. I would forget the world, right? But then my interest in I was always very deeply inclined spiritually,
Hmm.
and also in psychology. So I had
Right.
these kind of contrasting interests. I was good with physics,
Hmm.
fairly good with math, So therefore, I chose engineering as
Mhm.
my line of education. But I had a very deep interest in spirituality and psychology. So
Lovely.
it was these like these days you can major in math and psychology, by the way, but
Correct.
not back then when I was studying. It
True.
had to be either math or psychology, right?
True.
So I
True.
told my parents that if I don't get good grades, then psychology is a backup option. Like I can go into arts. And it was literally at one point I was hoping that I don't get into science, but I did get into science.
Mhm.
So I ended up doing engineering. But of course, I was good with that as well. So I think it was this multiple interests,
Mm.
out of my the normal background of studies, is where I started to make this shift from fiction to non-fiction, because then I
Mm.
started to explore, what does psychology say about human behavior, and
Right.
what is cognitive behavior therapy, and then what do our spiritual scriptures say about it. So it was really this whole interest in human behavior, human science, that got me to do that research. And eventually from there, it went to self-help. Did a lot of work in the self-help space, mindfulness, uh, you know
Lovely.
and then gradually transitioned to management and leadership as I started to grow in the corporate ladder. So yeah, so I think it's in connecting the dots. What does this say about this, and so therefore what does this mean, and then drawing those connections and meanings. But I think
Very
books
nice.
have shaped me as a person, as a leader, as an individual, for sure.
How beautiful. You know what? As you're telling me, I can so relate to everything that you're saying. Is almost like seeing myself in the mirror because you are a South Indian brought up with a North Indian. I am one. You're an engineer. I am one. You did nothing in the engineering space. I am one. You were
No,
in the
I
learning
did.
development space in
I
HR.
did
I am
couple of
one.
years.
You are a book lover. I'm a book lover. There's so many similarities, except the gender. A lot of things seem to be very common.
Lovely.
Lovely, 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 lovely. And I'm so happy to have this conversation. Let's dive into the book itself, right? So I'm going to ask you this question. What made you pick this book? Of all the books available and that you've read over the years, why this particular book and what fascinated you to pick this book, My Life in Full by Indra Nooyi?
Rajiv, it was a no-brainer for me, meaning I am such a big fan. If there is one person who has, really inspired me, and uh, I have followed this person through and through, must have heard every video that's available online, and read everything that I could about her, then it's Indra Nooyi. Because I early on in my career, when I sort of entered my first when I
Mm,
became a first time manager,
mm,
my I felt that, yeah, books, definitely I used to read a lot of books, understanding
mm.
you know the nuances of becoming a good leader. But I also felt that observing other leaders do the
Yeah.
same is a great learning as well. So that's where
Mm,
I started to very closely observe, what's happening out there, who are the leaders to watch out
mm,
for,
mm.
and somehow, without being biased, women leaders would really fascinate me, because
Right.
I would just get that sense of strength and power, and it would make me more curious to know, okay, what is it that got them there,
Very true.
and because, see, all said and done, even if I look at my own organization or any organization for that matter, in general, the pyramid
Mm.
is narrow as we go up the top. And
Yeah.
if you look at the number of women leaders that we have in the C-suite positions, they're
Agree.
really, really low, right? So it
Yes.
made me very curious, and that's why I think women who are in leadership positions have fascinated me, and I've wanted to follow them. Selena Nair, Prabha Narasimhan. These are some people that I'm connected with. I do keep following, but Indra Nooyi was iconic because she made it big,
Oh,
and
yes.
so I think, for even while she was the CEO, and uh, almost ever since the time she actually became the CEO, I've been following her and reading about her. So when you asked me which book to pick, it was, although I've read so many, but because I'm such a fan of,
Quick, quick.
this lady, the book inspired me in so many ways. So it was
Oh,
amazing.
I can't agree with what you said, Ranjana, because among few books that I finished in one sitting, this book is one for sure. I just couldn't keep
Me
it
too.
off my
Me
lap
too.
when I picked it. It just went page after page after page, and I was so curious. So, what did she do next? What did she do next? How did she handle this? It was fabulous, and the way she has narrated the story is, I could actually visualize her vividly, almost there in the scene when she spoke about all those incidences and all the journey of her. So great,
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. Every page, every word was relatable,
Ah,
completely relatable, including her background.
oh yes,
So that's a coincidence that I come from a similar background, but
correct.
everything was relatable. So I had to pick this book
Absolute.
for sure.
Superb, superb. So let's straight away get into the first question that I have for you from the book, right? Now, among multiple things that inspired me, that you also would have got inspired, I thought I'll talk about four things that really made a lot of sense to me, and I believe it would have made sense to you as well. So, in her initial days when she graduated out of IIM Calcutta as a postgraduate, fresh from college, and she joined the Method Birdsell company. Uh, it was a very inspiring story as a woman joining a role that she got to work for in this organization. What inspired you? Because you spoke about the fact that you were inspired by women leaders, and she is one of that. This story inspired you in what format and what form?
Yeah. So again, like I said, the first thing was relatability because when I heard that she did door-to-door selling with Metur, which was her first job, that was exactly what I did. When I graduated from engineering, I got a job in an organization where it was an electronics company and I was into sales. So I did that door-to-door selling. Of course, I did it only for a few months, and so did she. And that experience actually was a life changer. It was a game changer for me.
Hmm.
So I think that in that whole experience that she's narrated, and it was relatable, I could relate to it. And I also completely echo with what she narrated. Uh, what was really inspiring is, I think that as we grow as leaders, we need to understand, and especially for young leaders who are excited to grow quick and get to the top faster.
Mhm.
It's important to do the dirty work, as they
Right.
call it. Like
Yeah.
like when I say dirty work, the be on the ground and
So,
roll up your sleeves and do the job yourself if you
hmm,
want to lead a team to be able to eventually do that. I think that's so important, and it's underrated, honestly. It's really
very
underrated
true.
in this era of quick growth and fast growth and becoming the CEO in 5 years and stuff. It's good, it's great, I'm not
Yeah.
against that, but I still feel that being there, having done that difficult job of being there on the ground and actually seeing how things operate on the ground,
Yeah.
that really teaches you a lot. And that sort of with Indra also, I felt the reason why she was able to lead such a huge organization so flawlessly
Hmm.
was because she had done enough of that throughout her
Yeah.
career. If you see, even with her stints later in consulting, she had done the hard work of being there. The second thing is what I inspired me about this whole piece on the door-to-door selling that she was talking about was it also teaches you soft skills like humility and
Hmm.
how do you interact with your stakeholders and manage your stakeholders. Today we believe, or a lot of folks believe, that I need to learn leadership skills when I become a manager.
Yeah.
Not true, not true. I think you need to learn that on day one when you enter the workforce, and it's
Very
when you
true.
get to do jobs like these that you realize that these skills are fundamental for you to even grow as a professional, forget leadership.
Very true. Very true.
So I think that was something that I completely resonated with and sort of really inspired me. And the other thing that I've uh, been inspired by, not just with the Metal Bertzel story, but throughout the book, is her ability to dive deep into the problem and do the research to find
Very
out,
true.
where is the issue and how can she then innovate and make it better. So that whole paragraph where she describes out all the samples to ensure that she doesn't repeat the designs. That was very inspiring. So do the work, get there, get into the problem, dive into the problem, see where the issue is, and then try and work a solution. So I think these are some things that I was fascinated when I read that
Very,
speech.
very nicely put. You're so right because when you grow on to become a senior leader and occupy positions where you have a team with you, if you have dirtied your hand, people can see it in the way you operate and the way you run the business because they can't beat around the bush, and they know that you know the nuts and bolts of the game, and that's such a fabulous image that you can project to the entire ecosystem around, and you earn so much of respect, isn't it? They don't see you superficial; they see you
Yes,
as somebody who has
absolutely.
seen all the pages of the business and you have to do it the way it needs to be done. I think that's a great way to earn that regard and respect from the people around. That's what
Mm.
inspired me when I also read these pages. And you're very right saying that I think that was a quality that she built in her through the journey of hers. Even after becoming a CEO, we have seen her go down, pull up her sleeves, and sit through the 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and read all the pages, do everything, and be absolutely prepared for a presentation, even to the top management that time. But she doesn't have to,
Yeah, yeah,
but she still did that. Despite somebody
yeah.
made the
But she
meeting
did
for her,
that.
but she still sat and did everything herself. So I think that's a great
So
quality.
true.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So I'm going to also ask you about the next part of her journey. So let's go slowly to the next one. So as she moves in her career, right? Uh, she got a chance to set her foot into the big corporate world on a global platform. So that particular chapter or a segment which says "Finding My Footing" was a very inspiring chapter for me. So I'm going to keep my inspiration to myself. I'll talk about it after listening yours. What do you think
Mhm.
that related
Yeah.
to your
Well,
growth from this page?
some pieces in that whole section was very emotional.
Yeah.
I think one of the things where she narrates about her dad being unwell, and then she taking leave to look after her dad, and I think she took almost 6 months off from a very demanding consulting job just to be with her dad and take care of him. And I think that really also inspired me to think about family. Like sometimes I feel that because we are so busy in that whole busyness, it's easy to take family for granted,
Yeah.
especially our parents. It just sort of reinstilled the value that my parents have brought, and just that I am who I am because of what they did for me. And it was that moment for me to just acknowledge their presence and everything that they've done. So I do feel that family is that bedrock, and it's that support system. And I'm so glad that I've always been blessed with a very, very supportive family. So I think that as we continue to grow as leaders, it's important to in our hearts and minds to kind of really be grateful and acknowledge the presence
Mm.
of family, and be there for them when it's needed. I think it's not so much about work life balance, because I don't think such a thing really exists, no matter how much you talk about it. But it's about prioritizing, like even in Indra's journey. She talks about juggling. So it's really
Yeah.
about doing the juggling act, but then paying attention to the family ball if that needs your attention. And I
Very
think
true.
that's what she did so beautifully. So she had other siblings, and she could have very well said that I'm busy with my work, so let me see
Yeah.
if my brother can come over or my sister can come over. But I think she just fulfilled that responsibility of being a very responsible and caring daughter, which was personally very inspiring for me, because I think that
Right.
that was one piece I had ignored for way too long, and that chapter really touched my heart on that piece. So,
Absolutely.
um,
As I was reading the pages of the book, somewhere I was also so much complimenting and appreciating her life partner. The kind of a strength that he has played standing with her in every walk of her life. I think his contribution is immense to make Indranavi the Indranavi that we're all talking about today, isn't it?
yeah, no questions about that. I think no questions. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Very, very true.
Yeah, very true.
Lovely. You know, uh, her journey has been very inspiring for me. But I think the PepsiCo years is the crux of this entire book. And I read those pages of her PepsiCo initial journey at least 2 times because before I go to the second half of her CEO and then post CEO stage of her life, this initial thing was what caught my attention. How did she make it to the corridors? What did she do? Was all so fascinating. And I just went back to those pages again and again, making my notes, annotating in the pages of the book. So I would ask you, Ranjana, what are three lessons that you probably picked up from this Indra's initial PepsiCo years that you would like to give as inputs to young leaders? And you said
Yeah,
earlier that many young leaders who want to rise quickly in the career, what could
yeah,
be few
yeah,
lessons that you'd like to pick up?
yeah. I think the first one is work with tough bosses. It's good. This is something I want to shout from the top of the roof and tell everyone, whoever wants to listen to it, of course,
Yeah.
is that it's okay to get tough feedback. It's good, actually. It's good for you. You have tough bosses, you have tough feedback given to you in the most nasty manner. Of course, being respectful, not like
Yeah.
defaming you in any way, but
True.
that whole
On the
thing of
face.
working with a difficult boss whose moods are unpredictable gives on the pain. I have had the fortune of working with a couple of bosses like that, but I think that that's really helped me grow. And when I read Indra's story of how she worked with Roger, and how Roger Enrico was a difficult, fairly, not a very easy boss to work with.
Yeah.
I was completely inspired, and I was in agreement. Like, even the slightest doubts that I had in my mind of is this the way to give feedback? It was all gone. I said no, it's fine. I think it eventually just thickens your skin, and it makes you a better human being, a better professional, and a better leader, provided you take it in the right spirit.
Very
So
true.
I think that's the first message I would really like to pick for myself. And because and now after reading that,
Mm.
and you know what I do, like you said, I've read the section a couple of times. I have literally earmarked those pages. Okay,
Okay.
so when I get something like that from a tough stakeholder, I go back to those pages and just reread it.
Right.
And just tell myself it's okay. It happened to her as well. So I am no one. So I think that the first message was that working with tough bosses is good.
Yeah.
It's a sign of the fact, if a tough boss has chosen to work with you or picked you, it's also a sign that you are good. They found something in you, which
True.
means you have a lot of potential, and this person is there to just dig out that potential and help you grow to the next
Yeah.
level. So I think that's one lesson that I definitely picked up. The second lesson is putting the organization's interest
Mm.
ahead of her personal interest. That situation where she talks about they were supposed to relocate to Europe,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the entire family was excited about that relocation. And I can imagine with kids wanting to go to a foreign land, and it's always very exciting for the entire family. And
Yeah.
just at the last minute, that move was sort of called off, and again her boss Roger asked her to stay back, and how she and her husband made that decision to say yes because they wanted to put the organization's interest ahead of I think that was very touching for me,
Absolutely.
because it's difficult. Now that's a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
People usually break or they quit at these moments, but
Yeah.
to have the maturity to understand that at the end of the day I'm here to serve the organization, and
True.
if it benefits the organization, it'll indirectly benefit me as well. So I think that was very, very inspiring. So that was the second lesson.
Mm.
And you asked for three lessons. I'll tell you four. Sorry for this. The third one was I don't know if it comes in this section, but I've heard her say this multiple times of she never had her eye on the corner office. She
Mm.
never went there with the intention of becoming the CEO and having this 10-year plan mapped out, right? That after
True.
2 years I'll do this, and then after 2 years I'll become EVP, and then the CEO, and whatever that hierarchy is. She just said that I focused on doing the job given to me very, very well. And
Absolutely.
and I think that's a message that I really took from the book, and I would like to say that out loud as well. That if you're focused on doing the job given to
Yeah.
you, the
Yeah.
best that you can do, and the best that anyone else could do it, like which means innovate a little bit as well. Then I think growth and uh, the position and the designation, it just comes. It's mostly a
Very true.
byproduct. So, so I think that was beautiful. And the fourth thing that I picked up again from that section is,
Mm.
while she always the organization's interest ahead of her, and she was loyal to her managers. But what I also appreciated, she knew where to draw the line. So there was this
Yeah.
section where she describes that she felt insulted because some leaders, were incorrectly blaming her team for coming up with wrong forecasts of
Yeah.
the numbers,
Yeah.
and it sort of and that's where she felt that she was ready to quit without thinking twice, because she felt it was her personal respect that was being targeted. So I think that's the other thing which is also important, that yes, while you do everything for the organization and be very loyal to your stakeholders, but when it does come to a point where your personal respect is at threat, then you
Correct.
also know how to draw the line and stand your ground. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that shows the strength and the character of the person. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree because I mean, your point on Roger is very right, Ranjana, because I remember this line where she says that she knew that Roger is going to be there for her for life. And after her husband, if there was a second person that she can call anytime in her life, it was Roger. And she goes on record mentioning this. I mean, for someone to make this kind of a statement about her own boss or his own boss, talks a lot about the boss himself or herself, right? When a bad boss
absolutely,
does not, a tough boss does not mean a bad person. And Roger proved it.
very
Yeah.
true, very
And she
true. Yeah,
equated him as
yeah,
a person available for her on the same pedestal in which she had kept her life partner. That's massive, right?
that's
And I think when
true.
leaders rise up to that kind of a respect or that kind of a position from their team members, I think they have earned to be the leader. And Roger proved it through the mouth of Indra in the book. And that was a great inspiration for me as well. I agree. Second, that you mentioned also is superb, that today organizations where young leaders look for designations. I've had, sir, मुझे ना आप associate vice president designation दे दो, मुझे आप VP बुला लो. It just doesn't matter. And somewhere we never saw her that at all. She just went on and on doing work, doing work, doing work, and things just happened because it was visible to the management.
True, true. Yeah,
Her disbelief that have I been chosen to become the CEO? No, it can't be true. It just says that she never wanted that. But the
yeah,
ecosystem always saw her as the right candidate, isn't it? Very true.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a great lesson. I mean, as you're telling me, Ranjana, I'm just thinking again, it needs so much of humility to do that, isn't it? Just keep doing your work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I think humility,
Yeah,
focusing on what matters, and so much more.
very good, very good. Somewhere I think she proved this fact of, just do your karma, things will just happen for you.
Yes, things will happen. True, true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very
very
true.
true. I'm so happy we're talking about this. I'm having goosebumps on a couple of experiences I also had through this book because I've read the book 2 times fully. Right?
I've read it multiple times, multiple sections, and I've had all emotional experiences while reading the book. So yeah,
Very true. Very, very true. And I just, one of my wishes, I hope I get to meet this lady sometime in life, and that'll be a great,
me
great,
too. That's my
epic,
wish as well.
epic event in my life.
Yeah.
So that takes me to the next question, and I want to talk about this epic concept that she came with, PWP, which I thought was fabulous. And as an entrepreneur, when I'm working on models and working on organization development formats to grow leaders and organizations, when I read this, it just blew me off. How do you interpret the thought behind PWP? So tell the listeners what PWP is and how do you interpret it as a people leader that you are?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. While we work on these some of the complex models, I think this was so simple and yet so powerful. She called it performance with purpose and had three very distinct elements to it, which was nourish, replenish, and cherish.
Yeah,
Right, and what I read that, and of course it was amazing the way she was able to get buy-in from difficult stakeholders, including some difficult investors, and convince the world that she has she has all the good intention, and this is also going to get good business. So I think that was absolutely amazing. But what I personally did to really apply that in my life was I broke it down to my area of work, and I thought, okay, if nourish, replenish, and cherish, I had to apply it within my area of work. How would I apply that? And today I look at my area of work also very differently after I've started doing that. So nourish for her, she said that she took responsibility to ensure that human sustainability, that it was PepsiCo's job to feed or to at least nudge people to get into healthy eating and drinking habits. And I do leadership development, right? So now I look at leadership development very differently, that if I can encourage people to want to be leaders, rather than saying that, hey, you're a first time manager, here's a program for you. But if there is somebody who's inspired by looking at what we do, to be a leader and to make a difference in other people's lives, I think that's a purpose, for sure. So that's how I kind of translated that whole principle into my work life. Again, replenish was the impact that the organization was having on the environment. That was at a CEO level, but I look at it at my level and I say, okay, what is the impact my function has on my ecosystem, which is the rest of my organization,
Correct.
And see if how can we plan our initiatives in a way that sort of creates a very positive impact. So we've taken a few steps in that direction. And of course, people absolutely loved what she did about writing a note to the parents of senior leadership, thanking them for the gift that given. I think that was so beautiful. And by the way, Rajiv, I think she was the first one to do that. And after that, many companies have started doing that. I know of so many companies who send letters to their employees, to the parents, saying that your son or your daughter is such a special gift and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that is a practice that she actually coined, and then people have just followed it. I think that was such a beautiful leadership
Very
practice.
true.
So I also look at my team to see how can I be more innovative when I talk about developing talent within the team, because I don't believe in so these days there's a lot of, like, you do a small thing and then the leader is supposed to send a big message to everybody, and then say congratulations, and then everybody says, it just becomes very repetitive, and
Very
at the
true.
end of the day, the person also knows that, okay, I'm going to get something
It's
from it.
almost like an Insta reel that goes around in the organization.
So I don't do that. I don't do that. I look for moments of genuine appreciation, not only based on the projects that they've done, but for the value that they bring in as a person. And I think what Indra initiated was fantastic. It was so innovative. So
Very
I
true.
think that's what really inspired me about the
No,
freedom to be.
it's so fabulous, Ranjana, that I'm somebody who's completely bought into the golden circle concept of Simon Sinek from the book Start With Why. After reading that today, the minutest decisions of my personal and professional life go and sit in the three circles, and I push myself to do that. And somebody who completely submerged into the essence of the why, this PWP of knowing the purpose of anything and everything that you do just came back to me so hard hitting. Right? Yes, every performance has a purpose. Without a purpose, that performance is of no value to the ecosystem, to the people, to the organization, or anybody around. I mean, she kind of proved
Very
it
true.
after coining that and aligning every organization, every department in the PepsiCo culture to that
Yes.
three
To
thing
that,
called
yeah.
PWP was
Yeah, and even the investors and the external stakeholders,
yeah,
that was amazing. And I remember there was a point where she says that somebody said to her that you're not Mother Teresa, so I'm sure she would have got all those comments, but just the courage and the conviction that she had in what she was going to do was so
absolutely,
inspiring.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? Before I ask you the last question on the show, dear listeners, those of you who have not picked this book till now, you have lost a lot of time. Go to Crossword, go to Amazon, go wherever you can. I don't care. Pick up this book after listening to this conversation. It can change your life. I should say, it will change your life. It has done it for me. It's done it for the guest, Ranjana, and she's speaking beautifully about it. I know many, many people in the fraternity who have been thoroughly inspired by the pages of the book. Please go pick it up if you've not done it till now. Whether you're a first-time manager, you're a seasoned leader, you're a C-suite, whatever you are, don't care. Pick up the book, read it. The pages will relate to your life journey to the T. And that's a guarantee, right? I'm going to ask you the last question of this talk. And I'm so happy doing this. I don't want to end it, but I have to as a format. What are the two bullseye advice that you would give to the young leaders? Though you gave that four inputs, I'm still going to ask you from your journey as a leader, two bullseye advice to the young leaders.
I think focus on what matters and be patient. Just two simple things.
Love
Focus
it.
and
That was
patience.
just crisp. That was just bullseye.
Yeah, you said bullseye, right?
Oh, yes, that
So
was
yes.
just on 100, nowhere else. Absolutely. I had a lovely, lovely conversation, Ranjana. I'm so glad we did this on this book. I hope many people pick up the book, inspire themselves in their own journey of leadership after listening to this particular talk. Thank you for taking time coming and doing
Thank you
this.
so
I
much,
had an
Rajiv.
absolutely lovely conversation and I hope you enjoyed
Same
it too.
here. Same here. Same here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I absolutely loved sharing my views as well. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. You have a lovely day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.